and Ben's Outdoors channel.
Alright folks, this is Jeff with Jeff and Ben's Outdoors channel. And today I've been trying to figure out a problem with my presidential reel. This is I believe this is the 30 series. They make them like 25 and 30 and 35, 40, something like that. Anyway, this is probably a crappie fish, panfish. You can fish for bass and bigger fish with it. I've caught 10-pound, fish with it. But the problem I'm having, and I think I figured out a little bit about it, and some of you out there may have had same kind of similar problems, but I noticed I cast out there maybe 4 or 5 times and it's just as smooth as silk. No problem at all. And then maybe on the 5th, 6th cast or something down the road, it feels like it's tight. It's almost like, I don't know if have you ever had a loop on the end of your rod where you set it down, pick it back up and throw, and you feel it, it's reeling, but it's tight. It's just like something's dragging it back. Well, on this outfit, it does it quite often. And I look to see if my line's wrapped around the tip and look to see what's going on. Well, I figured it out, I believe. There's 2 things that's happened to this reel. I first initially thought, because I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but do you see that little groove? There's a little groove where this brass comes over and meets this collar, this brace. There's a little bit of groove there. And when I'm using 6-pound test or 4-pound test, it gets in that groove and it feels like that it's like a belt on a car going through a pulley. It's touching both sides and it gets real tight, and I actually have to pull it out of that groove, and you can feel it holding tension when I pull it out of the groove when I'm fishing with it. And then I'll take off reeling and it'll be fine until it does it the next time. Well, my initial thought was with this, that this brass collar is fixed and it's not spinning, it's not turning. See, on your cheaper reels, that's the way they are. But I got to looking at this Pfueger, and this Pfueger is a pretty good piece of equipment. It shouldn't be doing what it's doing. But that brass piece actually does turn, see that? So for that line to have tension on it, with that brass spinning like that, it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't have tension on it. But what's happening is I think there's dirt or something getting in there, and that stops. And when that stops, then all you've got is your line hanging up in that groove right there. See, as long as that's turning, it's doing fine. But if that brass, I'll call it a bushing or whatever you want to call it, when that stops, then your line is going through that groove and it's creating pressure. Well, through the investigation, and you can see, like, sometimes I can pull that up in there and you can feel it hanging once it gets down in there. Bigger line doesn't do that, and I've not fished with anything 2-pound or under 4 pounds. So but through looking and investigating, trying to figure out what it's doing, I found that my collar is cracked. And see these grooves right here? And under tension, when you've got that under tension, that's laying back. See that, how it's laying back? See those grooves? Cut. It's hanging up in that and making, see that bushing's turning. See that, even on an angle like that. My bell spring's weak. It's not quit working, but it's just enough that it's weak. See how weak that is? So this is the problem I'm having. Bear with me. I know I'm not good at explaining things, but bear with me. When I cast this reel like a bait caster. I put my thumb right here, hold the reel upside down. My son makes fun of me, but that's all right. And I'll cast, and I never do this because it's so hard to do. I mean, they're not real smooth. I've not found one that's smooth of doing that, you know, like that. So what I always do, and it helps on the life of your bell spring if you'll just help it over. Just help it over yourself. That's what I usually do. I don't never reel to cause the bell to swing closed. But here's the problem that I'm having. This bell spring is getting weak, and it's creating an angle, and the string is actually riding when the reel is out here at its greatest length. The string is actually riding not on the pulley, not on the I don't know what you'd call it, sleeve, collar, whatever. It's not riding on that brass bushing, but what it's doing is it's kinking, and it's causing little cuts. See those cuts? Let me get you up here in the light where you can see it. See those cuts? The fishing line cutting into that upright brace, and that's because the bell spring is weak and it's allowing it to come back. Plus the bushing itself, I think at that angle right there stops turning smooth like it's supposed to, and that's what I'm feeling. That's the pressure that I'm feeling when I'm reeling. And I'll reach down from time to time and I'll pull that string down and get it out of that groove, and out of that groove that's in that upright. And I mean, it does it about 1 out of 5, maybe 1 out of 7 times. But I just wonder if any of you folks is having that problem. I absolutely love the Presidential Series Pfueger rods and reels. I love them. Love the way they feel. I love the way they're designed, but for some reason, and I'm not sure why, this rod's only about, rod and reel outfit's only about a year old, and I can't believe that the spring's already wore out. But one tip that I may have for you that might help you if you're having similar problems is to lubricate and to clean your reels. I'm bad not to do that. And maybe had I done that, this would have lasted a little bit longer. But I'm going to order me a spring. And now, through looking at this problem, see the top of that upright? It's cracked. So that tells me right there that that bushing and stuff is looser than it should be, and it's probably got some slop and play in it, and there's probably debris and dirt, dust getting down in there, and those gouges. I'll show you a couple more reels with different designs. This has a wide bushing in it, a real wide bushing. These are South Bend reels. This one here, it's even different. It has a little bit of a wider bushing in it too. This is XTC 35 from South Bend. It's a pretty good reel, but these are not even comparable to the Pfueger in my opinion. But I know I'm not very good at explaining myself, but on my reel, the line is cutting because the bell spring's weak. This one's strong. See how it's strong? And it's cutting into this upright, and then it's hanging up in that groove because the brass bushing is not turning. So then the line has to go to the bottom, wherever the bottom is. So I'm gonna probably email or send a letter and see what they'll do about that. I know over time that all reels and rods are gonna, have problems, and you're gonna have to repair them and all that. But this outfit's only about a year old now, and it should have done better than that. So any of you guys out there having troubles like I'm having, you've got a solution to make your reel last longer. And maybe, I know it can't be, I'm fishing too much, but anyway, I'm not putting down Pfueger, the presidential Pfueger at all. I'm really pleased with it. I enjoy fishing with it. It really does a good job catching fish, but it should last a little bit longer than that. Maybe it's something I'm doing or not doing, shorting from sitting on a shelf.